Hi, beautiful community. Happy New Year. Welcome to 2017. It was crazy for me to watch this transition between the 2 years this time. I don't know if it was 2016 was such a drastic year for people, but it seemed like this stark comparison between those who had these amazing stories from 2016 of just beautiful, wonderful things happening in their lives, and then those who had these just horrible stories of heartbreak and loss and suffering. And as I was trying to digest all of that, I just thought, but isn't that life, right? Like there's this almost this dance between the beautiful moments and the broken moments, and where do we find our faith in the midst of that? And I think it's so awesome that when we read the Bible from Genesis to Revelation, we see the same thing. It's all so real. We see these moments of awe and wonder and miracles from the beginning to the end, and we see these moments of just heartbreak and horrific things happening and places of suffering from the beginning to the end. And the thread through it all is Jesus. From the moment that Genesis starts to the book of Revelation, Jesus is there being steadfast, being everlasting, saying, I've loved you with an everlasting love. I have drawn you with an unfailing kindness. It's the prophecy that Jeremiah gives in chapter 31. And I had to come to that place of understanding myself a few years ago. We had been trying to adopt a little girl overseas, and it all just fell apart and our hearts were broken. And I was talking to the Lord one day, really, really honestly. I was very frustrated, and I was like, what is up, God? Why? And I'm sure some of you can relate to those moments. And I came to Genesis chapter 22, where Abraham was going to sacrifice Isaac, and he goes up the mountain, and as you know, if you know the story, the Lord stops him, and there's a ram in the thicket, and he sacrifices the ram instead. And then Abraham says that the name of that place is the Lord will provide, Jehovah Jireh. And then he says, and to this day it is said that on the mountain of the Lord it will be provided. And what I realized is that ram is symbolic of Jesus and symbolic of everything that Jesus has done and will always do for us, and that he is enough. He is the provision of our lives. His love, his grace, his mercy, his constant presence is the provision. It is enough. It is what we need. And I realized that as I stood with my heart broken those couple of years ago, and I had to come back to that place a few weeks ago, where again we had this other opportunity for this amazing adoption. It felt like this tornado whirlwind thrown in our laps, and we were so excited. And then it all just came to a screeching halt again. And it was another one of those moments. I can remember walking in my backyard, and I was just singing a song to the Lord, and I was crying. And I just came back to that place, like, you are enough, Jesus. Like, no matter how this story ends, I know that you are always there with me, and that your love is sufficient. And my friend Christy wrote a blog a few years ago, about 2 years ago now. It was called The Golden Hour. Actually, her entire blog is called A Spacious Place, if you want to check it out. But in this particular blog, The Golden Hour, she was hesitant to even publish the blog because it was talking about these unbelievable sunsets they had had at her Pennsylvania farmhouse, and just these encounters that she had had with the awe-inspiring glory of God in these sunsets. But that same week, they had friends who had had a child die. And that same week, there were some very difficult things going on in our country. And she thought, can I publish these stories of beauty and wonder when others are going through so much suffering? And what she came to in that blog, and my point for all of you is today, was yes, you can, because we need each other's stories. Maybe what she said in her blog was maybe her story of her golden hour would bring life and hope to someone in their moment of suffering, and vice versa. Sometimes we need the broken moments, the moments where everything seems lost, and we see the faithfulness of God in those moments to truly appreciate the moments of blessing and miracles and beauty. And sometimes we need to hear those beautiful moments when we're walking through those moments of suffering. So as you go into 2017, beautiful community, I just encourage you, he is enough for whatever you're walking through. He is enough for the most beautiful moments in your life, and he's enough for the most difficult moments in your life. Share your stories, encourage one another, and continue to live beautifully.